Welcome to another episode of our channel. In this video, we will talk about how the United States, China, and Russia are preparing for a new battlefield, Earth's orbit. In late 2024, a rare and striking event occurred, involving two military satellites, one from the United States and the other from France, performing a maneuver that may seem like science fiction but is becoming part of the reality of modern warfare. An orbital meeting, known by the acronym RPO, a procedure in which satellites approach each other to inspect or manipulate objects in orbit. The mission was conducted to demonstrate the ability to operate in close proximity to satellites from other countries. Although the names of the satellites were not revealed, the practice is becoming increasingly common, especially considering the growing threat from Russia and China in space. This operation was not just a technical exercise, but a milestone in a new military approach towards space. Created in 2019, during President Trump's first term, the Space Force was the first new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces created in decades, reflecting the growing importance of space in modern military operations. Since its inception, its mission has been to prepare the United States to fight in an environment where orbital dominance has become crucial to national security. As highlighted by General Stephen Whiting, war in space is no longer a remote possibility. It is a reality. The former space commands embedded within the Air Force had missions more related to observation, defense, and support. But now, with this new branch, the mission involves ensuring military superiority also in the space domain, which also includes offensive actions. The transition to space warfare is motivated by two main factors. The first being the dependence of the U.S. Armed Forces on satellites for military operations. With the precision of missions, like the recent operation against Iran, largely made possible only due to space technology. With observation, communication, navigation, and surveillance satellites now being essential components of almost all military operations. The second reason is the increased activity of countries like China, which since 2015 has demonstrated significant growth in its capability to launch and operate satellites. China is not only launching an increasing number of satellites, but is also becoming an expert in electronic warfare in space, including the capability to interfere with or even destroy enemy satellites. And China is not alone, with other countries like Russia and India also conducting anti-satellite weapons tests. With the United States accusing Russia of developing an orbital nuclear weapon capable of destroying dozens of satellites simultaneously in a low-orbit area, via the electromagnetic pulse generated by the nuclear detonation, a threat that, if confirmed, could leave entire units and fleets without communication. For years, the Space Force avoided openly discussing its offensive capabilities, but the scenario is changing rapidly. And in April 2025, General Whiting stated it is now essential for the United States to develop weapons in space, including orbital interceptors. The idea is that these interceptors could not only be used to destroy missiles but also enemy satellites threatening U.S. national security. These interceptors, designed to destroy enemy satellites in orbit, would be part of an integrated space defense network. Additionally, the Space Force is collaborating with allies like the UK to develop anti-satellite weapons and expand its defense network. In one of the most recent programs, Operation Olympic Defender, the United States worked with 6 countries: Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, and New Zealand, in an operation aimed at deterring and, if necessary, neutralizing space threats. With these countries signing a joint space defense plan in April, which includes not only observation but also defensive and even offensive actions. In the field of space warfare, one of the biggest challenges has been the movement of satellites. Traditionally, satellites have always been treated as fixed fortresses in orbit, following fixed and predetermined routes. Because changing a satellite's route requires a large amount of fuel, reducing its lifespan each time a maneuver is performed. To resolve this, the United States is investing in 3 main approaches. with the first being to equip satellites with more fuel, allowing them to move more freely. Although the most practical, this approach has the disadvantage of increasing the launch weight to orbit, and every kilogram launched into space costs thousands of dollars. The second is the ability to refuel satellites in orbit, a technology that China has already demonstrated to be capable of successfully using. This is a huge advantage in a combat environment, where satellite mobility is vital. The third approach is the idea of satellite constellations, like SpaceX's Starlink system. The concept is to operate many satellites, so if one is destroyed, there won't be a significant impact on overall operations. In other words, instead of launching just one or two large and powerful satellites, this approach involves launching dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of small satellites, which collectively carry out important missions such as communication and surveillance. The advantage of this approach is that for the enemy to critically affect operations, they would need to destroy a huge number of targets, not just one or two. The U.S. National Reconnaissance Office has already launched more than 200 spy satellites since 2023 and plans to launch dozens more in the coming years. With rumors that SpaceX might lead the development of a constellation of 450 satellites to help track missiles and provide data for interceptors and weapons. Additionally, artificial intelligence is beginning to play an increasing role in space, with General Whiting mentioning plans to equip satellites with AI that could detect suspicious objects nearby, automatically moving the satellite to avoid damage without needing orders from human operators. The use of AI is also being tested on the ground, with the creation of SpaceBots, a language model trained with data from the U.S. Space Force. This tool can provide quick answers and assist in real-time decision-making, reducing the time needed for a human response. While AI in space is still in development, it promises to transform the way space operations are conducted, with the future of orbital warfare potentially including AI satellite formations capable of protecting and acting as defenders of high-value space assets. By allowing satellites to operate autonomously, AI could create a new type of space defense network, where each satellite is capable of protecting others without the need for human intervention. Space is no longer a domain of passive observation, but a strategic and essential battlefield for global security. With the U.S. Space Force and its allies preparing to face a range of challenges, from orbital interceptors to using AI to protect satellites in orbit, as space becomes more crowded and vulnerable to attacks, space warfare will become increasingly crucial for global military powers. And indeed, the next war might not be fought on a terrestrial battlefield, but in the vast and unpredictable void of space. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel,